There we go. We're live. It's James Maduk speaking. July 3rd, just before July 4th, long weekend in the States. We had Canada Day last earlier in the week on Tuesday, so it's kind of a weird week. I've been doing a whole bunch of series about how GPT-5 that is supposed to come out in July, hopefully does, but there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff in it that changes a whole bunch of things for anyone who's in a traditional course business or an education business, and they're trying to figure out, how does this fit in? What does it mean to me? What are the new things that they're talking about that are supposed to be there? And how can I position myself so that I can leverage all of this cool AI stuff instead of getting stuck way behind? What I'm going to do today is I want to go over some of the things that I've been learning about the chat GPT-5 and how it affects us, specifically about courses. So I'm going to go through some of the pieces there and give you some ideas on how maybe you want to position yourself and your education business as all of this really cool stuff comes into play. Now, these sessions are live, so I've got my notes in front of me. We've got my handy mind map in front of me with my notes, and we'll kind of go through on where I think things are happening here, and how this is an exciting time for someone who's willing to make that jump from focusing on courses to building a campus and a community and starting to teach what it is that they're excited about online. So this is the real story of the education business. It's not being able to kind of do things faster. It's about fundamentally changing the way that you look at your business. And it's going from being a content creator to really a learning experience architect, or creating blueprints on how people learn what it is that you're teaching. So here's what happens now. If I'm taking a look and I think about even myself until recently, is if I'm thinking about AI, I think about how can I use AI to be a fancy writing tool. So to remove me from having to write stuff, but it's being able to have individual tasks or requests and have it written for me. And it's like a writing assistant, right? It's like write me a course syllabus, write me a lesson, write me a quiz. These are like one-off kind of pieces, and we're just treating it as that, a tool to remove ourselves from that particular piece. And the whole thing with that, and as well as it saves a whole bunch of time, energy, and effort, the part that is cumbersome is we're limited to us as the business owner. We can't scale other than the fact that we have to find prompts that work and get the prompts to create the content that we want. That's the part that stops us from actually scaling. So we're limited by our personal output and prompts. What's happening is that we've got a situation now where we're creating content that is in the traditional format of an online course, whether it be a talking head or a PowerPoint, maybe something that's well edited, something that's not, a screen capture. We're still in kind of that mode, and we're using AI to kind of streamline that, but it isn't going anything further. And we're competing on the course content and not on the transformation that we can provide. So we're a revenue for a business. We're still capped by our personal time and the energy and effort that we want to put into building out the content. So that's the business situation that we find ourselves in if we're thinking about content and online courses. Here's kind of the thing. I'm just going to open up my screen here, and we'll take a look at kind of my notes as we go through this. But for me, when I'm thinking about this, let me do this one here, and we'll make it a little bit bigger so that you can see this. But GPT-5, again, these are the things I'm going through here on GPT-5. Just remember that I have no guarantee when it's going to come out. From the research that I've done and the videos that I've watched from the people at OpenAI, as early as the spring of this year, they've been talking about July or the summer of 2025. So I'm assuming that it's going to come out. And as well as these things I'm talking about, these are ones that have been documented in the OpenAI blog posts from other people in the industry that following this. So these are the kind of tools that are coming out. I've been doing a whole bunch of videos on these individually, but there's two that there's a whole bunch of them that are important, obviously, but the ones I want to focus on today specifically about courses are something called persistent memory, and then agents. And I think agents and this memory thing is the really cool part, if you're ready to take advantage of it in your business. So if I'm looking at how did I create a course before, like if I was using GPT-4 or even Claude or some of the other tools, normally what happens is I have to basically I have an intern, right? Someone that helps me with individual tasks. And every time that I gave it a task, it's like you have to put special instructions in, or you have to explain the context of what it is that you want. But there's a whole bunch of extra work to getting one task done, or maybe, one extended task, but it's a lot of back and forth and it's repetitive stuff, even though it's automated repetitive stuff. And then on projects that were longer projects, it's like there was a lot of checks and balances, always us checking and fine tuning the responses that we get based on what we thought the answer should be. So it was really good for single outputs, but not for workflows. And as a result, you see all sorts of additional tools like N8N, and I think it's called Make now. There's a whole bunch of ones that kind of string these individual responses together to get some kind of output that is actually built and created. Excuse me. So that's kind of where it is. Now, what's happening now is with the agents in GPT-5 is that we have not one put inputs, but we actually have complete workflows that we can get done. And this is really important if we're in the courses space and the education space. Now, the other thing that's cool is it has what's called persistent memory, so that it knows exactly who we are, what we're doing, what our business about, what our brand about, what is the style that we use. All those things that we had to repeat all the time, they're no longer necessary because it does have a memory of us and our students and the students that are actually being involved with the content that they're consuming. And again, it's all advanced reasoning. So that means that multi-step ones, it can take the result from one step and bring it on to the next step and then on to the next step. And in fact, it replaces some of the things like N8N, where you can get a little bit confused if you're not technical, me included. Those things now are not going to be as necessary to be able to get these complex tasks put together. And I'm going to show you a couple prompts just to give you an idea of how that works. Um, for a business, the course business, education business, this takes us from the limit of us prompting and allows us to have as many agents, as many as we want, doing as many complete complex tasks as we want. So I want you just to think about that. That whole model, that business model is changed now. So we're not in the content creation business anymore. We're all about creating these learning experiences and these transformations that just happen to include content that is created on the fly by the agents that is personalized to the people that we're actually trying to teach. So if I take a look at what I was doing right now for a course that I was created, it's like I do some prompts to create a syllabus. I do some prompts to create some lessons. I do some prompts to create some scripts. I do some prompts for social media posts. I do some prompts for being able to do the quizzes, the PDFs, the checklists, the downloads. I'm doing all of these steps and I do them as quickly as I can, which is a lot faster now, but I'm still limited to that. And if I want to get extra help with this, I still have to go outside and hire third party to be able to fine tune and really allow me to be on the creative thinking side and have the creation of the content either AI enhanced and or still sent out, but using the results of what AI was created. Now think about this, what happens is I'm in a position with GPT-5 that does have persistent memory and does allow you for these complex tasks with agents. I can basically think about how quickly can I create something? What are the ways that I can make this let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger so that you can see it. But I just have to figure out what are the outcomes that I want, not the course content, what is the outcome? And I can focus on what I think the framework or the strategy is that I've learned or I've researched or I've put together to get to that outcome. But the content that is required for each individual student is now created by GPT-5 and any of these tools that allow with persistent memory and or these complex automations. So we're not creating content anymore. We're focusing on strategy and being inventive with strategy, experimental with strategy, trying things ourselves, going from our past experience. But we just have to think of those things, the transformations that our customers or the people that we're students are trying to teach want. And we're basically able to hand that off now. And the limit to our business is not how fast we can create content, but it's going to be how quickly we can come up with innovative, exciting experiences to learn how to do things that we're promising in our education business. So, one platform, one place, one transformation. Be a CEO. Don't be the person down that is doing all the dirty work, which was great before if we got some help. But I want to be the CEO of the business, the owner of the business, the one that's in control, the one that knows from my gray hair and lack of hair experience what works, when it doesn't work, how to apply it, what are the ways to implement it, what are the gotchas. That's the stuff that I can now solve for people without having to do a course. And I really, really think that, and I'm struggling with this, and I just want to talk about it for a second, because a lot of the platforms that are available now to deliver content are built around the notion or the idea of a static linear course. There is, again, my opinion here, because of the agents and the ability to stack or organize course content based on individual requirements of a person or of the student, the way that the content is going to be delivered is not through a traditional LMS. These things are going to happen on the fly based on what is needed. It's just in time learning, not just in case content. So I think there's going to be a big disruption in the delivery platform, which is a whole other story. But that way to scale is by having your own content that can be supplemented by external content using your frameworks, having a platform to deliver it on, and allowing the agents to actually create the education that's required for the person to get to that outcome. And GPT-5 is the first step in that because it remembers my content, my brand, my voice, and it also will be able to remember the student and where they're at with that particular person. So, I'm thinking about this and I'm going over these pieces and I'm trying to figure out where does this all fit? How does it go into my business? How do I get set up for that? Um, the one for businesses, and here's another one that is some people don't really think about or consider, is when you are creating courses, a lot of times when I talk to people, they still think of a course as I'm going to write a script, I'm going to do a talking head or maybe a slide deck. I'm going to get in front of the camera, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this course that I put out with a syllabus, and maybe I'll add some text for some lessons, and might get AI to basically create some kind of quiz that I can use to keep on people. And if they complete or they go through and consume all the content, maybe I'll certify them. And I can do things like gamify it to hope that they will actually go and complete it. But that takes a whole bunch of time to do course development. And again, it's out of date now in many cases as soon as it's finished, and it's not unique to the person that's actually trying to learn it. Even in corporate training, for high-end training, that is even more complex as you have to cover and have it edited or created in a professional manner that meets a particular standard. Now we don't have to worry about course development, and in fact, we can have our content created so that it's applicable to not only a small business or an individual, it can actually be created or adapted to different markets. So not only are we removing ourselves from all the hard work, but we're allowing our content and our processes to be delivered to areas that maybe we hadn't thought of before. And even membership sites, the way that the business works for a membership site isn't about content creation. Excuse me. In the past, when I had my first membership site, My Small Biz University, if you are running a membership site, and especially one that has like a recurring monthly fee, there's a lot of pressure on creating brand new content that justifies the fact that someone has to pay monthly. Um, if you're on GPT-5, there's no pressure to create content. You can create content whenever you want. And in fact, you can let the users create content, even using the tools that are available to everyone, but by applying your frameworks and your expertise to that content. And this is a shift from an education platform, a campus, a privately branded campus, to a content mill. So this membership site thing is going to change as well. And that's why I call it, learning communities or a learning campus. I think of a membership site as basically a way to just have a paywall or a way to protect your content. That now I don't think is a viable business model unless you adapt it to the fact that there is this modular content that can be created at any time. And it requires you, again, the teacher, the educator, the person, to be physically involved with individuals or groups of people. So it's going to cut the wheat. It's going to cut or really let people who teach stand out from people who create content. But you still have to have some kind of platform to deliver that, and a story and a framework and a transformation that you can promise for people doing that. Couple huge benefits here, for example, is just being able to test stuff. If you're unsure, I got asked a question actually in one of the calls yesterday. It was about, how do I know what to sell or what not to sell? Do you create a course, or do you start testing market demand now by providing content and getting feedback on what it is that you're doing, or the way that you're messaging it, or the way that you're providing it? So it takes a very, very short period of time to actually do that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so pumped up about YouTube, which is a whole other discussion on how I think we should be creating videos as quickly as we can using these AI tools to be able to iteratively test what fits and what doesn't fit for the people that we're trying to help. Now, how long have I been going here? These times I get wired on these things because it's so exciting about it. So I want to just finish up and give you some ideas of what an agent means to us if we're actually creating courses, or if content is still a part of that. So let me just go. I put a couple prompts together. Let me see if I can pull some up here so that you see them, just to give an idea of where this kind of fits in. Well, the first thing is, and I did this one, I think a couple months ago when I was researching agents at the start. And one of the things I was just trying to figure out, it's when there's a tool called Manus.ai. I did a couple videos on it. The thing that's cool with Manus, it was a browser agent. And what a browser agent does is something that GPT-5 is going to do, but a browser agent basically allows you to request any task that normally happens in your browser. It was a way to actually complete those tasks. And I was thinking about it and I said, okay, well, if I'm in the browser, what are some things that I may ask if I'm in the course business or the education business? And these are end-to-end tasks that you can give to AI to do it. Now, the cool thing is GPT-5 is not going to be limited to the browser. It is going to have access to external tools, all sorts of things outside of the browser, and it's going to have persistent memory so that it knows again about me, my content, my story, my brand, my way of looking at things, and the individual students are who are being involved with it. But these tasks, these are 100 that came up. So just to give you an idea of the way to think about agents is not think about creating a specific course or think about doing a particular lesson or pieces. Create a 5-module mini course on beginner Photoshop skills, including outline, scripts, slide decks, practice exercises, and certificate of completion. Task done. That's the kind of changes we're going to be able to see. Is there still going to be a human in the loop? Yeah, absolutely. You don't just put it out and let it go. The fact is, though, that we've allowed an agent, one agent, to do this one thing. We're not limited to one agent. We can have one agent doing the course, or maybe it's something along the lines of, take my latest webinar recording or my latest Zoom call, turn it into a self-paced product by creating a transcript, dividing it into lessons, designing supplementary materials, setting up delivery system in Teachable or in Fluent Community or Kajabi. These things, again, very, very cool, but it's big picture thinking and strategy now about the tasks that are important that we can offload to these independent, autonomous agents, and the scaling isn't on us in the prompting again. Refreshing courses, um, develop a student achievement tracking system with progress milestones, achievement badges, simple ideas, but you have to structure and figure out where do they fit in for what it is I'm trying to provide to people, and which of these do I need to provide the learning experience that they want. Again, this is a step up from what we're normally thinking of when we're creating courses. Marketing and lead generation. If you want to do a lead magnet, a PDF, create the PDF, create the page, the opt-in page, add them to your CRM tool, make sure the download's available, put people on an automation after it. 30-day content marketing plan. Create a case study marketing campaign. These are all just ideas, and I put 100 together of them as well. The other thing that's cool, content repurposing. The one thing I think that's kind of missing on this is these tools are now getting very good at creating web pages and the way to deliver the content. So if I say, create a landing page, I don't need them to go into a WordPress site and learn how to use WordPress or use the theme that I'm using. I can basically say, create a page, write the sales copy, use my branding, my colors, my fonts, put together the features, benefits, the hero. Once you've got that set up the way that you do it, it's like create the sales page, create the landing page. These things are done, and they're into a whole series of other work that can be done from a department, not an intern. We actually now have a whole department being able to do all these complex tasks. And this is going to be so cool when you make the transition in your head away from courses to creating a campus and a learning experience for people. And that's why it's so hard right now. It's like we're stuck in between two different pieces, right? What is the one that is important? What are the ones that we should spend time on? We still have to earn money selling courses, or do we? Is there another way to monetize some of these different pieces? And I think, that's kind of the big piece that a lot of people will struggle with and start to move into as this stuff becomes more popular. There's hundreds of millions of people using ChatGPT now. Creating or sticking to courses is going to be harder than ever if that's just what you're thinking about. Um, the human in the loop part, I'm not saying remove yourself from it. I still think if you're the CEO, if you're the boss, you are making decisions on strategy, but you have to check the work of the people that are under you. It just happens to be a very flat organization where you've got your department heads, you've got your agents doing the work, your department heads, and the ones that talk to you are just the results. You can look at them, assume that they're perfect, and put stuff up without checking them. That's your choice. I don't recommend it. But if you provide the frameworks and the processes that you believe or that you know are the ones that are important in that experience, you just have to make sure that the content that was created is applying your particular style and process that you know provides what it is that you're trying to teach. So you've got a whole bunch of really cool things to learn about here. And here's how to position yourself. Again, in my opinion, this is how you position yourself for this particular piece. And also, I just want to make sure you understand, do I know that this is exactly the way it's going to work and exactly what's going to be out and when GPT-5 is going to be out? No, I don't. Will it be coming, whether it's in GPT-5 or some of the other tools? Absolutely. The ideas are already there. It's the implementation in these large language model tools that we're just actually waiting for. And parts of it have been shown already. You can go to genspark.ai or manus.im and see browser agents that do this now. You have to pay for them. They're limited to the browser, but these things are already here. ChatGPT-5, these other tools have so much more reach than some of the smaller ones. People are going to find out about it, and you're going to have to either stay lost in courses or keep up with all of the really cool changes here. So what do we need to think about? It's AI-powered course planning. we have to give the ideas and outlines and messy notes. GPT-5 is actually going to create the course content based on our notes and our strategic and framework instructions. We need to think about not huge courses or programs, but more about micro skills and the steps and what people need to learn in order to complete the tasks. So this is, again, different than creating a course. This is how can I create these Lego bricks or chunks so that GPT-5 can go, hey, I need this chunk, I need this chunk, I need this chunk, and how do I put them together so that I have something that is appropriate for what it is that I'm trying to teach. So the objectives, the quizzes, certifications, all of those things that we used to have to create manually or prompt manually are going to be done for us in complex tasks by the agents. And multimodal content I talked about in another one, things that normally, again, we had to kind of figure out using text. We're going to be able to create images, visual videos, and additional content other than text by just using the descriptions of what it is that we want and how it fits into the course. I've seen a couple examples where, someone creates a lesson, but if they're teaching something, they may say, create a rubric or, provide a visual representation of this. So it's going to be able to create the images. It's not going off to another tool. These image creation are baked in to the large language models. So again, very, very cool stuff that's going to be able to done. And again, students are going to be able to ask, as an assistant, ask the course, where am I stuck? What needs to happen? And in fact, the agents will be able to proactive. They'll know if they're taking too long there, or if they're answering quizzes incorrectly, or they're stuck on particular pieces, or they're skimming pieces. An agent is able to proactively get involved with people. It's not just here's the static workflow. We have dynamic workflows that are available. These are reasoning models. They're ready to go to help out. And the other one is, that I think that the real cool stuff with this is that if you are going to teach it as a course creator or an education business, it has to remember that it is a business. Uh, Not courses, and the number of courses you create, I don't think is the valuable piece now. The valuable piece is creating modular content that fits into your topic or your area of expertise, and make sure that it's available so that AI agents are able to put it together for the people that need to learn it in the way that you want them to be able to learn it. And get involved with people, talk to people, have live classes, be available to answer questions, to provide guidance and mentorship. People will pay money for that. That's where the value is. That's where you can scale. And in fact, that's where you can charge premium dollars for your ability to remove all of the overwhelm and all of the challenges that come up with people trying to figure out, how do I do this myself, or how do I get help to be able to get it done more quickly? And people are willing to pay for expertise. And if you have the framework, or you've built up the authority by creating that community where people can get involved and learn from you and other people with all of the organized content that you have about a particular topic, that's the cool opportunity for an education business. Not I created 4 courses or 5 courses or one big honking course. So hope this has been interest to you. I'm super excited about it. If you haven't already, make sure to go to trainingsites.io/join. The community is free there. The only way that I make money is through my agency, the done for you part, and the done with you part, which is a campus pass where we actually have live classes, implementation classes, application classes where I'll work with you one on one if you happen to be on, or one to a couple, figuring out how to apply all of this cool stuff to your business. Uh, how long have I been talking? 29 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back. Actually, I have a couple videos today that I still want to do. Um, and let me give you a peek on one if you're just starting out. And I'm going to do it in another minute, but I want to show you because as much as I was talking about GPT-5, now there's still people that are kind of stuck on, where do I put this together, what's in any kind of learning experience right now. There's another one that I'm playing with right now. I'll show it to you for a second. It's classroom.google.com, and they've added Gemini, the AI tool, now into the classroom. So we're going to see some really cool stuff for that over the next couple months as well. My name is James, trainingsites.io. Like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back shortly with another great video, how you can start, build, and grow your education business. Take care. Expect the best.